Hey everyone! So, in today's episode, I want to talk to you about implementing a simplified or an easier classroom economy system in your classroom. If you're looking for a much more advanced version where you have a salary and jobs to apply for, and monthly rent and an auction, all of that, I do have a much more advanced version, and I'll link that down below so you can watch that episode. And I go into a lot more detail about implementing an advanced version. But today's episode is going to be a simplified currency system for your classroom. So the first thing you're going to want to decide is you're going to want to decide the name of the currency that you're going to implement in your classroom. I've had teachers call it Starbucks, like star dollars, but Starbucks. I've also had teachers call it after their own last names, so Barton Bucks, or in my classroom, I use Deb Dollars. So you're going to want to first think of a name for your currency, and then you're going to want to decide on what your currency is going to actually look like. So going back to the Starbucks idea, I had teachers literally draw a star on a piece of paper and maybe write their name on it. I've personally gone and printed off sheets of Monopoly money and just wrote Deb Dollars across the top and made multiple copies of that. But I'm excited to share with you that I found a really awesome clip art on TPT. The store is called Little Red, and they have Canadian clip art money. So if you take a look at that, so here's their loonie, for example, and their $5 bill, and their $10 bill. So I'm really excited when I get back to the classroom. I actually want to print off multiple copies of these, and I'll be using this Canadian version in my classroom because up until now I've used a combination of American currency, which was free, it was mailed to me, but I also used Monopoly money. And so I'm really excited to use the real Canadian clip art for my classroom. And what I went ahead and did is I printed off the corresponding color as well for the bill, and I printed it on cardstock. Now, if you're planning to do this for long term, I would recommend that you laminate it just for longevity. It helps the currency to last a little bit longer. Something to keep in mind as well is for those older grades, you definitely don't want anything that's going to be easily copied, because even in my own grade 4 class, I had students try to copy and make their own version. Obviously, it was a little obvious. I could see the difference. But, you know, if you're planning to implement this in grade 6, you just want to keep something that's a little bit more complex for your currency so that it can't be manipulated. Another question I get about a simplified classroom economy system is how do you begin? How do you start the very first day and you implement it? I actually begin my classroom economy system on day 1. The very first day of school, towards the end of the day, I introduce the concept to my students by explaining to them that if they take home their student information page to fill out and they bring it back the very next day completely filled out, they will earn a Deb Dollar. And of course, they have no idea what a Deb Dollar is. They have no idea what this means and what they can get with this in my classroom. But the fact that they can get it and they can earn it is very exciting to them. So I just leave it at that. The very first day, I give them a piece of homework, which is a form to fill out, and I ask them to bring it back filled out, and they get $1. And then from there, that's when you can start introducing ways to earn more of the money and ways to spend it. But for the very first day, you can just introduce it as simple as that. So my recommendation is to keep it simple from the beginning. Only introduce 3 ways for the kids to earn money. So number one way that they can earn $1 in my class is every day they have to show me they got their agenda message signed. And yes, we do agenda messages throughout my entire school. I teach grade 4. I taught grade 3 for many years. If they get their agenda message signed, they get a Deb Dollar automatically. I check it, I stamp it, they get $1. Also, they get a Deb Dollar if they complete their home reading for that night. So in September, I think we start off with 15 minutes of home reading in grade 4. So as long as they have it signed by their parents that they did it, then I stamp it and they get a Deb Dollar. So essentially, every day the students can earn 2 Deb Dollars right off the bat if they just do what is expected of them. The third way that I tell my students that they can earn a dub dollar is just by teacher choice. So if I catch you being kind or doing something very kind and generous, then I will just come and I'll put a dub dollar on your desk and I will reward you for that kindness. But I have to catch you. So I make it very clear that students don't just come up to me and say, hey, I did this or I shared this with another student. I'm going to catch you and then you get a dub dollar. Now, of course, it's really important when you introduce this concept, especially to the littles, you want to explain to them that it's really important to keep their money hidden, safe, and in a place that's not easily stolen. In my grade 4 class, we use our pencil cases, and I ask my students to put their pencil cases in their desks every day so that it's a lot less tempting for somebody to come in and take the pencil case out of their desk. Not that that happens on the regular, but there were occasions of students that would linger behind after, let's say the recess bell rang and I would have to go run out for supervision. I've had students linger behind for that sole purpose of maybe sneaking some dub dollars. So just explain to the students from day one, what do adults do or what do people do in the real world is they keep their money private. They keep their money in a bank account. They keep their money in a wallet or in a purse, and that purse is close by. You don't flash your money. You don't say like, hey, check out all of the dub dollars that I earned today. You don't flash your money in public, right? So we have that conversation early on once students start earning a lot more currency in the class. Once you have the currency system in place, then you can introduce the store. So I have a store in my class. It's on one of my bookshelves. And I have a few items in there and they have prices on them. And I explain to my students they're welcome to browse, they're welcome to look, but if they are interested in purchasing that item, they have to bring the item to me along with the price tag and the correct number of dub dollars. Now, if they don't have the correct number of dub dollars, then they have to be able to explain to me how many dub dollars or how much money they get in return. So it's a bit of mental math that they have to prepare as well. Rewards or items in your store can be something as simple as lollipops or candy. Other items I would recommend are not sugary items. So, you could do a movie and a popcorn reward day. You could have stickers, you could have glitter. A huge hot item in my store were just basically fun school supplies. So markers or glitter pens or, whiteout, that was a big one. Whiteout was a big one. Highlighters, Sharpies, those kinds of things. So you want to keep in mind those small items that you can buy from the dollar store probably to put into your store. You can also reach out to families in your classroom. So you can ask families to donate just a few small items that you can contribute to your store and you can price them out. And then that is an incentive for the kids to earn their dub dollars. And of course, an economy system is meant to mimic the real world. So yes, there are ways to earn dub dollars, but there are also ways to lose them. And so very early on as well, I explained to the students that there are fines. There's not many fines, but there are fines because you do have a responsibility in the class. And one of those responsibilities is to complete your homework. In grade 4, I don't send homework home unless it's something that we've been working on and I have given sufficient class time on. And if it's still not completed, then I send it home with a note in the agenda explaining that so-and-so did not use class time effectively and this needs to be completed for the next day. If it comes back incomplete, it's a $5 fine. So it's quite steep. If they are a repeat offender, then maybe the third or fourth time, I will bump that up to $10 because I want them to get into the habit of remembering to complete their homework. Another way that students could lose money is by having a very messy desk or a very messy cubby system. And I have little pieces of paper that are either the desk fairy or the desk police. And once a week, I usually go around and I pick 5 desks. And if it's nice and clean, then I'll put a note from the desk fairy and I'll tuck in $1 saying like, great job, you did a wonderful job keeping your desk clean. I also have a fine from the desk police saying, I came around, I noticed that your desk was a little too messy. You owe the teacher $1 for the messy desk. A few other ideas for how you can get the DIB dollars to be paid or cashed back to you is I've charged $1 for the use of my electric sharpener because a lot of kids like to use it. But they are required to bring in their own mini sharpener. So if they want to use my electric sharpener, that's totally fine. It's available. It's just $1. Another one too is if they have had school supplies but they have misplaced them or they haven't been taking care of them and they would like to purchase some more school supplies, maybe they want a new duotang, maybe they want a new highlighter, things like that, then they can also purchase school supplies from me. The number one item that kids love to purchase are pencils. So I have fancy pencils on my desk and they're welcome to purchase them, especially if they've lost theirs. Those are $2. All right, the last thing I want to talk about with the simplified classroom economy system is a major benefit that I noticed doing this simplified version. Also the advanced version as well, but the simplified version is that it really reinforces mental math and skip counting. I can't tell you how many times the students have had such a hard time counting on. If they have a 5 and $2, they'll start off counting the simpler ones. They'll count 1, 2, and then they have to think about 5 in their head. Well, what's 2 plus 5? They can do it. They should be able to do it, especially in grade 4. But even just a simple math strategy like counting on, I have 5, 6, 7. That is a skill that is being reinforced daily through this classroom economy system. Also, a concept that's kind of tricky for kids to understand is if I have a $10, instead of giving me 10 little loonies, you can also trade in 2 5s. And that is a concept that I found was really tricky for my students to understand, that this is the same value as this. Because in my classroom, the students think that the more pieces they have equals more value, but that's incorrect. So it's a concept that I'm continually teaching to my students, that this one $5 bill is also the same as 5 of these one little dollars. And although that makes sense to you and I, this is a concept that actually needs to be explicitly taught. I learned. All right, so that's basically a simplified classroom economy system in short. I talked about how I implement it. I talked about ways that kids can earn it and kids can spend the money. You also might want to consider having some big ticket items. So for example, one of the items my students could purchase this year was an extra recess. Now that's huge because that involves me going outside to supervise my students, but it's also reflected in the price. So a pencil or a candy might be $2. A extra 15-minute recess where the teacher needs to be outside would be $200. And yes, that sounds like a staggering amount, but my hope my hope is that my students will work collaboratively together to pitch in. So maybe everybody puts in $5 or everybody puts in X amount, and then collectively they can earn the extra recess. It's a lot more manageable that way. My students, like I said, I was only there for 3 months before I had to go on mat leave. So my students didn't quite get that concept just yet. I had one student save up all her money to buy a movie and a popcorn treat, which was $60. But my hope was that throughout the year, then I would, facilitate that kind of a transaction. So I hope you enjoyed that explanation of a simplified classroom economy system. I will be posting more YouTube content upcoming here now. It's going to be a lot more regular. My next episode that I'm going to come out with is my home reading program completely explained. I'm going to break down everything to you, how I implement it in my classroom. And it actually does also involve DEB dollars. Some of the rewards in my home reading program are DEB dollars. So if you're not already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions about my simplified economy system, please ask me below. I would love to answer your questions. And also, just a heads up, if you're watching this in real time, then next month, during the month of February, I'm going to be popping on here with YouTube Shorts, and I'm going to be posting one new read aloud story for every school day of the week for the month of February related to Black History Month. So the story might be involving a Black character as the main protagonist, or might be about a Black Canadian figure. So you don't want to miss it. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.